All right, so now ousted Syrian leader Bashar Assad fled to Moscow and received asylum from his long-time ally. Now, Russian media has said on Sunday that hours after a stunning rebel advance seized control of Damascus and ended his family's 50-year of iron rule. I'm now joined by my colleague Akansha Swarup on this broadcast. Akansha, very good morning to you. Let's first talk about what are the whereabouts of Assad right now. Where has he actually got an asylum in one of the countries? What are you learning as far as your sources are concerned?
A very good morning to you, Sharon. Yes, that is what we are learning, that Bashar al-Assad and his family have already arrived in Moscow and they have been granted asylum. Remember, there were all kinds of reports soon after the rebellion took place. First, Aleppo fell down on 27th of November, followed by Homs and Hama. And it was yesterday when the capital, Damascus, was seized by the rebel forces of HTS. And that's when all kinds of reports started doing the rounds that Assad has perhaps also, left by a plane, which apparently crashed. Then there were reports that Bashar al-Assad is perhaps no more. But right now what CNN is reporting is that Assad has been granted asylum by Moscow. Remember, Russia and Iran are two allies to the Assad regime because of which he was able to in fact rule over Syria. And with both of them now being occupied by conflicts, one of course in Ukraine for Russia and of course Gaza for Iran, and Hezbollah's own power now crumbling down. We've seen how the entire regime has been brought down by the rebel forces. So it's little surprise, Sharon, why Bashar al-Assad has been granted asylum by Moscow. We'll have to see how Moscow now responds to this new regime change over there, whether Iran and Russia will join hands and try to prop up Bashar al-Assad again is the big question for Middle East.
All right. Akansha, also, from the perspective of India, could you also take us through what is the situation when it comes to the Indian citizens in Syria, and what is the Ministry of External Affairs? Are they in touch with their counterparts in Syria? What are the measures that are being taken to get them back to India or keep them safe in Syria? What is the plan here?
Right now, what we have learned from our sources, Sharon, is that the Indian embassy, ever since the disturbances started happening in Syria again, has been in touch as far as the operations are concerned. The Indian External Affairs Ministry has always made it amply clear in the last sort of fortnight that they've been taking note of the recent escalation in the fighting in Syria. We are also aware that there are about 90 Indian nationals in Syria. That includes 14 who are working in various UN organizations. This is what had been confirmed to us by the Ministry of External Affairs, that they have been in touch with those missions who remain in close contact with the ministry for their safety and security. At the same time, just last week, New Delhi had issued a travel advisory that had asked all Indians to avoid traveling to Syria and urged those staying there to exercise utmost precaution and even restrict their movement. So we'll have to see if New Delhi is now preparing to bring them back or to have them continue stay on, because so far what we are learning is that the HTS, which is the rebel force that's taken over, has made it amply clear to the people that they do not mean any harm to the citizens or these missions who are currently in Syria, and they will ensure their safety and well-being. So perhaps the situation is one which is very guarded, but not as dangerous as it seemed when the entire takeover was happening.
Also, Akansha, when we talk about certain, country presidents and prime minister, be it Benjamin Netanyahu or Joe Biden, they have, of course, welcomed the fall of Assad at this point. But what about India? What is India standing into this entire incident?
Right, you played out that reaction coming in from the External Affairs Minister. He's of course talked about how there are going to be challenges which will now be added to the ongoing challenges in Middle East, which is mainly Gaza and Lebanon. So that is what the External Affairs Minister said, and he said it rightly, so that Syria will be another challenge, and that India has to be realistic about these competing interests in the region. We can't not have a relationship with the rebel forces if they are already being welcomed by the larger West, which includes the United States, even France and the United Kingdom, primarily the NATO allies. So what Jaishankar has very interestingly said, that what we do in my business is essentially try to address the challenge of the day as collectively and as effectively as possible. And this today would extend from Gaza to Lebanon and now to Syria as well. But at the same time, we have to be realistic about competing interests in this region. One of the interesting evolutions of the world today is actually on different issues. Sometimes in the same region, you have a different combination of countries that are working together. So I think this is India's way of also addressing what the changes have been, and maybe perhaps India will now be looking towards enhancing its relationship as the situation changes. But just in November, Shireen, I'd like to point out that we've had diplomatic exchanges with the Syrian government under Bashar al-Assad. India has been a very crucial partner to the development in Syria. So I'm sure India will be watching these developments very closely, and what the next steps will be very closely sort of designed by us, and the decisions are awaited from the upper echelon government.
All right, Akansha, I request you to please stay with us as we are getting more breaking